joining me on Fascinating Frontiers, episode 95, for June 8th, 2026. Starting the week with the latest from space and science, NASA will name the crew for Artemis III, the mission that will test docking with commercial landers ahead of crewed lunar landings. NASA will hold a briefing on June 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to introduce the astronauts assigned to the mission. Artemis III will use the third European service module to power Orion. The mission will demonstrate docking with commercial lunar landers in low Earth orbit. This step directly supports the goal of returning humans to the moon's surface. Observers will watch for details on training timelines and lander integration tests. Now shifting focus to the hardware the crew will wear on the surface. The liquid cooling ventilation garment features a design described as very aesthetically pleasing by project leads. It will be worn beneath the Axiom Space lunar spacesuit developed for NASA. The garment manages heat during surface operations on the moon. This marks the first public reveal of a finished element from the Prada partnership. Next steps include further integration testing with the full suit assembly. The company unveiled another completed component of the suit intended for NASA's Artemis program. The design incorporates materials and construction techniques developed with Prada. This element joins the cooling garment in moving from concept to hardware. The partnership aims to deliver a suit ready for crewed lunar surface activity. Follow-on work will focus on certification and mobility testing. On a different note, astronomers have identified the source of repeating radio bursts. The source ASCAP J1745 originates from a pair of stars in a tight binary orbit. Observations show the bursts repeat on a regular cycle tied to the orbital period. The system provides a nearby laboratory for studying coherent radio emission. Data were collected with the Australian Square Kilometre Array Pathfinder. Continued monitoring will refine the orbital parameters and emission geometry. The ACAP J1745 binary offers the first clear periodic clock for a repeating radio burst source. Repeated observations tied the emission directly to the orbital motion of two compact stars. Because the system is relatively nearby, sensitive arrays can capture fine time structure that distant fast radio burst sources wash out. The next observing season will test whether the burst strength varies with orbital phase or remains constant. You know what is fascinating about this? A pair of neutron stars orbiting each other every few hours can release more radio energy in a single burst than the sun emits across its entire surface in a day. Picture riding alongside one of the stars as its magnetic field sweeps through the companion's wind. The interaction twists and reconnects field lines in milliseconds, accelerating particles that then radiate in phase like a natural laser. The entire process repeats with clock-like precision because the orbit itself sets the timer. In the case of ASCAP J1745, the bursts arrive every 1.5 hours, matching the measured orbital period to within seconds. Yet no model fully explains why only certain binaries produce this coherent emission while others remain silent. The missing piece is whether the radio waves require a minimum magnetic field strength, a particular wind density, or an alignment we have not yet measured. Next up, engineers have tested a new spacecraft communication capability. The new system allows spacecraft to move between different communication networks without interruption. Engineers demonstrated the capability in recent ground trials. The technology addresses growing demand for flexible links as more commercial and government assets operate in orbit. It builds on existing relay infrastructure to improve data return rates. Future missions will incorporate the switching protocol during initial flight tests. Shifting to business developments, a UK startup has raised new funding. New Orbit Space secured Series A funding to develop satellites for very low Earth orbit operations. The capital will support construction of the first demonstration spacecraft. VLEO platforms promise lower latency and higher resolution imaging than traditional orbits. The round reflects continued investor interest in specialized orbital regimes. The company plans an initial launch within the next 2 years. On the commercial technology front, another firm is preparing a smartphone demonstration. The Luxembourg firm will conduct a cellular spectrum demonstration in Germany next year. The trial uses an existing local telco network rather than dedicated satellite frequencies. Success would mark an early European entry into the direct-to-device market. The test targets standard smartphones without hardware modifications. Results will inform regulatory filings across additional countries. Meanwhile, ESA has formed a new partnership for Earth observation applications. The partnership will apply satellite data to development and impact finance projects. EBRD clients will gain access to imagery and analysis for monitoring infrastructure and environmental conditions. The agreement expands use of European Earth observation assets beyond traditional science programs. Initial projects will target regions where EBRD operates. Progress will be tracked through joint pilot studies over the next 2 years. In outreach news, Swiss Mint has issued a new collector item. The new coin honors Switzerland's contributions to space technology and missions. It features imagery tied to instruments and hardware developed in the country. Proceeds support continued Swiss participation in European space programs. The minting run is limited and available through official channels. Collectors can expect delivery later this year. While those activities continue, ESA is preparing a major public event. The agency will occupy the Space Pavilion at the Air Show from June 10th to 14th under the theme Space for Future. Exhibits will cover lunar exploration, climate monitoring, navigation, and European launch vehicles. Visitors will see hardware models and data visualizations from current missions. The event serves as a public outreach platform ahead of upcoming launches. Staff will conduct daily demonstrations and briefings. On the science application side, NASA has shared new findings from an archaeological site. Orbital imagery helped identify Jabal al-Faya as a former shallow sea location now above the desert. Archaeologists are studying early human occupation layers preserved at the site. The work combines satellite remote sensing with ground surveys. Findings add detail to migration routes across the Arabian Peninsula. Additional field seasons are planned to expand the excavated area. While those seminars run, another European event is also opening its doors. ESA will hold a live briefing on June 9th at 5 p.m. Central European Summer Time to cover progress on the European Service Module and overall mission status. The update precedes the crew announcement by a few hours. Viewers can follow developments on the Orion spacecraft's path toward lunar operations. The session will include technical status reports from ESA and NASA teams. Recording will be available afterward for later viewing. Keep an eye on the results from next year's direct-to-smartphone trial in Germany. That's Fascinating Frontiers for today. If you enjoyed this, a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify really helps new listeners find the show. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Thanks for exploring with me, and I'll see you next time. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts covering tech, science, markets, and more. If you enjoyed today's episode, give OmniView a listen, a balanced daily world news briefing that takes every side seriously. You can explore the whole lineup at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.
Drifting softly through